Hey there YouTube, welcome back to another black powder update. Now I've actually been trying to do this video for like the last 3 days and I've miserably failed every single time. I think I've tried it like 6 or 7 times. I'm basically trying to try and cut the sort of time down from like sort of 15 minutes to maybe sort of under 10. I just wasn't getting it, so I thought, well, I'll try again tomorrow. And alas, today it's not a very good day. It's been nice and sunny the last couple of days in the morning, and today, when I decided to give it one more try, the weather has failed, and it's not particularly dark, but it is quite cloudy, so it's not quite as nice and natural light. So I apologise if it's not the best of quality, but then again, this is one of those real ragtag battalions that's literally been built up through the necessity of me not having to make the decision to buy 2 battalions in rather than 1. So I had no choice but to try and scrag together one more final regiment. So basically, I'm going to quickly run you through them. First of all, we've got the colonel here. Now, this guy has an interesting story. I don't know if there's any sort of figure aficionados out there, but you might recognise this guy as being a warlord colonel. I believe from the Waterloo command pack that you can get the blister. Fairly nice figure, but a lot of mistakes that I really didn't like about him. The first one was that he had a really short sword. So short that it was basically about the size of a sabre briquet. It looked ridiculous, so I basically swapped out. I can't remember if I just changed the blade or actually cut his hand off and changed his hand. I really can't remember, and I'm not going to start trying to bend it to see what's plastic and what's not. This is actually one of the colonels that I had that I used as a brigade commando in my original 3rd Corps project. Now, the other major flaw with this particular figure was that the horse he came with, it basically looked like an anemic pony. It basically stood a little taller than a donkey. It looked as if it hadn't been fed for like half a year, and this guy sitting on his back, it just looked absolutely ridiculous. So I think what I did initially was I just used like a spare Perry's horse. Now this horse originally was just a plain Perry's cavalry horse, so it didn't have any didn't have the pistol bags or anything like that. I hated him. I mean, I had to use him through necessity, but I hated him. Now, as I was obviously doing the newer project, the sort of like the full version of 3rd Corps, this guy obviously came up as a spare colonel figure, and upon sort of calculating exactly how many colonels I had, and I think I've just about exhausted every colonel that you could possibly buy, and I really don't like repeating higher command figures, so I kind of had no choice really but to try and recycle him. So I managed to get his horse off the base easy enough, and I decided to use Daz clay and I actually sculpted him some pistol bags on the side here. Now they may not be the best thing since sliced bread, but I think they certainly from a distance they certainly do the job, and certainly made him look a lot better than the original warlord variant of him, especially if he was sat on that stupid horse. I mean, the horse was literally, his feet were literally about half an inch off the ground. He just looked absolutely ridiculous on it. I think I've still got the horse sitting around somewhere, because it's just completely useless. You can't use it for anything. But yeah, I was pretty chuffed with how this guy turned out, and he's basically the colonel of this particular regiment. Is it the 70th? The 70th. And yeah, I was really happy with how he turned out. And if I do happen to get a spare colonel figure, then I might swap him out. But at the moment, I think I'm quite happy with him. So yeah, that's the colonel, and I'll just give you the blurb on him. So this guy is Colonel John Marie Maury of the 70th Regiment de Ligne. So that's him out of the way. So here's the new battalion. I actually finished these guys last Friday afternoon, before obviously I was doing the live stream in the evening, so when I actually went onto the live stream, the Pile of Shame broadcast, I actually wasn't doing any painting because I'd literally finished these guys earlier in the day, and I very rarely have planned out exactly what I was going to do. Now, I knew that I was going to do some command figures, but obviously I hadn't actually picked the ones that I wanted to do at that point. I ended up doing that on the Saturday. So let's try and cut this video down time-wise, and we'll start going through these guys. Now, like I said, these guys are a real mishmash. These guys were really, I had to really hunt through my piles to scrounge these guys together. So we have the Grenadiers here. We have a 1812 Parries here. We have a Warlord, and we have two Victrix Imperial Guard with normal French heads. And now this guy here, I made a Sergeant for a change. And I also included some swap of pom-poms. So a couple of these guys, I had to swap their pom-poms out to give them Grenadier style ones, or Elite Company ones. But yeah, I think in the end they came out okay. Like I say, I made this guy a Sergeant. Yeah, I was pretty chuffed with them in the end. Strangely enough, when I had these guys sort of assembled together, before I started actually sticking them to get them ready for painting, they actually looked a right rabble. Almost enough to sort of put you off of painting them. But luckily, as they went together, this is obviously the 4th company here. We have 2 Warlord, and actually 3 Warlord, and the last spare Calpe here, which I decided to make into the Corporal. Yeah, it was like I say, as soon as I started getting paint on them, they actually kind of fell in, and I actually ended up kind of liking them in the end. Although I wouldn't say that this is one of the most enjoyable battalions I've painted. They were just a little bit too ragtag for me. So here we have again 1812 Parries for the Voltigeur. I decided to make all the Voltigeur all not have great coats on purpose, and I thought, you know what, I'll go for the you know, because obviously there's loads of different type variations of Voltigeur uniform at this sort of period. So I decided to go for the slightly older school one, where they had the yellow collars and yellow turnbacks on the cuffs. And yeah, these guys actually have a different coloured pom-pom to all the Voltigeurs so far in third course. I've done 2 divisions, and most of them are all yellow, and this particular one has a yellow and green. So that is the Voltigeur. Next up, onto the Nco stand. Now, I did actually find this Nco here, Metal Parries Nco, in my little stash box, so I was happy about that. I didn't have to struggle around trying to find a Sergeant figure, along with 3 Warlord Fusiliers. Of course, I've got a fair number of spare Fusiliers left over from my Warlord starter army. Yeah, I've still got a fair number, not a massive amount, but obviously Warlord like their 36-man battalions, and I do 24, so obviously I had spare figures. But yeah, nice use of the Sergeant there. I really don't like wasting metal figures if I possibly can, so it's good to be able to use him, a bit like the Calpe guy. Next up, we'll go for the 2nd company, which also has obviously the musician in for me. Here we have a Warlord, and we have 2 Parries. Now these 2 Parries are actually recycled from a previous battalion that was rebased and had figures swapped out. So these guys were basically already painted, and all I did was tidy them up. So that made these guys particularly quick to do, because these guys were literally done in like 20 minutes. I repainted, as you know, I prefer sort of like a darker blue for French infantry, so their old colour was like the Prussian blue, which to me was a little bit too light, so I went over with my darker French blue. The drummer, now for some reason in this particular brigade, the drummers' jackets change from a green to a blue, so this particular regiment had blue jacketed drummers. which is a little bit of a change, I suppose. And again, this is actually the spare Perry's drummer that I swapped out for the Warlord one with the greatcoat just a couple of battalions ago. So yeah, glad to have been able to use him up. So that's the musician stand. Finally, the command. Now obviously on my command stands I tend to have a well, I always have 2 officers, a flag or fanion bearer, and of course a high ranking NCO in the back. Now obviously I didn't have any NCO figures. I didn't want to use my my 1812 sergeant because I kind of need him for one of my final 4 battalions. So I ended up deciding to do a little bit of artistic license and just coming up with this high-ranking sergeant who, strangely enough, happens to like carrying a brace of pistols with him. So I basically took one of the Eagle Bearer figures, the metal Perry's Eagle Bearer figures that were left over from my my last regimental command pack that I brought from Perry's, and I actually carved his arm off and repositioned his shoulder. I cut his hand off and repositioned his hand and sculpted some rest on him. And I actually used a spare musket which comes on the Victrix sprues, and I made him into a normal sergeant figure, and I think it came out really cool in the end. I was really happy with him. And of course the fanion bearer there with the flag, junior officer again, and obviously behind him the standard junior officer. This is a Perry's metal officer from the officer pack, and of course the chef de battalion is also from that same pack. And I believe this guy's from one of the Perry's command packs. I can't remember exactly which one, but I only had one of him, so perhaps he was from the regimental command pack with the eagle rather than a fanion. So yeah, and there's obviously the chef of battalion, really nice figure, really regal officer looking figure. Obviously he's a major rather than a colonel, but I still, you know, you can tell this guy's got a bit of money. He's got a really nice cut uniform, and he's got a rather nice sword scabbard, and also a rather nice sword. So yeah, that's the command group, and that's the end of these boys. So I've just forgot to give you the blurb, so I'll give you that now. So obviously these guys are the 70th Regiment de Ligne, and they're commanded by Chef de Battalion Goel. Now this particular regiment only had a surname for their commanding officer, and although I did have a little bit of a search to see if I could find his first names, I couldn't. So this guy will just be known by his surname. So that is the end of this video. So what have I been doing over the last 3 days since these guys got finished? Well, I've actually been working on a bunch of command figures which are actually off to the side, sort of drying. Basically I finished the figures yesterday. I put the DAS clay down on their bases, left them overnight, and then this morning I put I put like a base colour of this particular brown that I always use for my bases onto the stands, and obviously I used a bit of water effect too, so I'm kind of having to wait now. I'll probably wait most of the day until that's dried, and then I can actually finish them off by flocking and adding tufts and stuff. So that's that'll be coming up fairly soon after. So anyway, that's the end. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back fairly soon, providing I can actually knock a video out in one take to show you those command figures. They're actually it's a division and 2 brigade commanders. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for a couple of more subscribers, and thanks to everyone who watches the videos, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.